Another piece of the driver market puzzle has fallen into place, as Alfa Romeo has locked down the Chinese rookie Zhou Guanyu for next season. But considering that he scored significantly fewer points than his teammate Valtteri Bottas, why is the team so adamant about retaining him? In today's video, we're going to talk about the reasoning behind his contract renewal and why it makes perfect sense, so keep watching. First off, the rookie season is always hard. Zhou Guanyu has had a pretty okay debut season for Alfa Romeo, as he failed to make a mark on the grid. For instance, he's around 40 points behind his teammate in the championship. What makes this sound even worse is that he's sitting on 6 points right next to the Williams drivers. If he'd been on par with his teammate, the team wouldn't have been scrapping it out for 6th against Aston Martin and Haas. The point is that they're faster than that. So what's up with Zhou? Is he just not fast enough? And if not, then why would anyone want to sign him? Well, we've got to realize that he's just a rookie. And believe it or not, Formula One's a different ballgame compared to other categories. Look at all the other rookies we've seen through the system. George Russell, Alex Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda are some of the names we've seen struggle to make their mark in their debut seasons. Russell didn't even score his first points for almost 2 years. The second season jump for an F1 driver, though, is insane. And guess what? Alfa believes that the Chinese drivers got what it takes to turn his racecraft up a notch. Up next, Zhou's selfless test in Barcelona. Let's assume for a second that the rookie's fast and hasn't been able to translate that pace onto the racetrack. What could be the reason for that? Well, he didn't get to do a ton of preseason testing for his team. Now, if you're unaware, getting to grips with your car is extremely important, since each machine behaves completely differently. And this was doubly true for someone like Zhou, who hadn't been a part of the sport before. It was a pretty strange preseason for Alfa as a whole, though. The car spent 4 out of the 6 days in the garage, and in total, the Chinese driver only managed around 112 laps around Barcelona. For context, Sainz almost doubled that number in his Ferrari. To make matters worse, Bottas got even less time with the car, as he clocked in only 54 laps in total. And being the only experienced driver on the team, he had to spend more time in the seat and relay feedback for the start of the season. This is where the rookie decided to step up and help his team. He was scheduled to run more on the team's filming day after Barcelona. What's more, this was supposed to be his chance to get to grips with the quote-unquote final version of the car. You know what he did, though? He stepped aside and offered the car to Bottas because he knew how important it was for the development. He put the team first. Not to mention, he had an impressive debut. Of course, sacrificing your running for the wider benefit of the team is a pretty selfless act, and we can bet that not many other drivers would have done that had they been in Zhou Guanyu's position. Even his team principal Fred Vasseur was moved by his commitment to the team, saying that for a rookie to propose something like this is pretty impressive. Also, no one asked him to do that either. Do you know what's even more impressive, though? Getting the point in your first ever Formula One Grand Prix. With everyone on the team worried about his lack of testing time, the 23-year-old proved everyone wrong by finishing 10th during the season opener in Bahrain. Not only that, but he also became only the 66th driver in the history of the sport to score on his debut. And honestly, that strong performance set the tone for his Formula One season going forward. Oh, and let's not forget, he had to fight against the mighty Lewis Hamilton in that race too. Sure, you could say that Silver Arrows were struggling, or the cards fell in his favor. Then again, it was his first race ever, and that too with minimal running in the preseason tests. Besides the boss, Vasseur also echoed similar sentiments, as according to him, for a rookie to qualify into Q2 and then finish in the points on their debut is not something we can scoff at. What's more, Zhou has handled the pressure well. We all know that being a good F1 driver doesn't only require racing chops. Your pace is the most important thing, but your attitude and how you deal with situations are right next to it. For instance, Zhou's sacrifice in preseason testing was the perfect example of what a great sport he is. And if that needed any extra reinforcement, he delivered that in Bahrain too. Not only did he handle the big media pressure incredibly well on his debut, but he also gelled in with the team quickly. As the season progressed, it's become clear that his approach in Bahrain wasn't an outlier, but the rule. On top of that, he's also had to constantly combat being the first and only F1 driver from China. Imagine carrying the weight of an entire nation on your shoulder, especially one that's as competitive in sports as China. But again, he's coped with that too. Besides, he's been super calm and composed when he's had to face tough situations like a DNF or a crash. It's the relentlessly positive attitude that's earned him so many extra brownie points at Alfa. Even Vasseur thinks it's easy to shine and be the good guy when you're regularly scoring points or not facing any hardships. However, the real character of drivers comes out when they have to deal with hiccups. It all matters how you interact with your engineers, your teammates, and the crowd. Still, he passed those tests with flying colors too. Coming up, progress is more important than points. Alright, this may sound antithetical to everything that Formula One's about, but for a team like Alfa, making consistent progress toward the top is more important than cashing in the points. Sure, climbing the Constructors' Championship helps, but with Audi coming in after 2025, they're planning for the future. And Zhou Guanyu is served as the perfect instrument for their long-term plans. How? Well, for starters, he hasn't made any big errors in his career thus far, which is rare for a rookie. What's more, despite not having a lot of points, he's been very consistent in pace. In fact, as of late, he's been challenging Bottas in qualifying as well. And for a team looking for 4 years ahead, that sort of progression is extremely important. Plus, even when he had that massive shunt at the start of the British Grand Prix, he didn't go home after being passed fit by the medical center. Instead, he ran straight to the team's hospitality to discuss the next race in Austria. That was an incredible show of bravery and defiance that shows his commitment. Following up, Zhou's insane popularity in China. Now, one thing that many people forget when discussing Formula 1 drivers is that they also have to be marketable. Like, the drivers are one of the biggest attractions for sponsors and can bring in a lot of revenue for the team. Mick Schumacher, for instance, waits his name thanks to his father, and that attracts all sorts of big German sponsors for him. It's a pretty similar thing for Zhou as well, who's become a household name in China. He's accrued many big endorsement deals with high-profile brands, including Prada. Plus, being the only driver from the country means that all potential business opportunities from China will converge on him, which again is also great for Alfa Romeo. Finally, Zhou Guanyu has a ton of untapped potential. As we mentioned earlier, consistent progress and team spirit is the name of the game for a team like Alfa. And if there's one thing we've learned from Zhou Guanyu's first season, is that he's got both in abundance. Not only does he operate super well with Bottas and his engineers, but he's also managed to attract many Chinese balls to the sport. Moreover, it's not like he's a paid driver or anything, because he's not lacking in pace. He needs a bit more time to build, and we're sure he'll be firing on all cylinders in no time. Besides, with the Audi 2026 takeover imminent, it's more important to build momentum than squabble over points. So Zhou isn't going anywhere, and Alfa may have pulled a blinder here by re-signing him. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think that Zhou Guanyu will be more competitive against his teammate next season? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.